what else do you like in terms of your sectoral preferences? Because there's a whole long list, right? Cybersecurity as a sector, that's one that you like. You touched upon energy, some of the critical mineral space, copper miners, clean energy infrastructure, medical technology, defense, and also private equity.
Yeah. So not private equity investing in for suitable investors. We do think that private equity, typical limited partnership structures are still attractive across many different sectors, including private credit. But actually investing in the private equity companies themselves is a very lucrative proposition for the path ahead. We were talking before the segment started about privately about the banks and what's going on right now with Basel III requirements. And there are going to be many opportunities for alternative credit providers, what we call the shadow banking system or the unregulated financial system, to step in and capture a lot of that market share. And that's an opportunity for investors to get involved as well.
So you think that market is, in a way, on the path of democratizing itself, and that would be an opportunity for retail investors? Is that what you, or even HNIs, is that what you're advising clients to do? Get into alternatives?
High net worth and ultra high net worth family offices, individuals have been a part of this trade for the last several years, and it's now starting to go more mainstream, where it's becoming a much wider swath of the audience is starting to see this play out on television. So you saw this week CEOs from major banks around the world were in Washington talking to Congress about the impacts of what could happen with additional capital requirements. And so they've also warned that, look, this is a free gift to the alternative asset industry. They're going to take our market share, and you're actually going to hamstring earnings potential for banks. So it's a real tailwind, and it is something that we want investors to look at.
From the regulators' standpoint, it's also about just ring fencing the banking system, given what's happened with regional banks. So you get that sense, you get their point of view. But you're right, at the end of the day, the banks have to do what they have to do to be in the business, right? And they have to be competitive. I do want to get your sense quickly on, we spoke about the earnings growth, but what about safety assets in this market? What about gold? What about an inflation hedge like Bitcoin? I mean, what's happening with the cryptocurrency market, and how are you addressing concerns around it?
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm unqualified to give comments around the cryptocurrency segment.
Okay, so let's go with gold. Let's go with inflation hedge. Let's go with what would be safety bets for 2024.
Yeah, I've spent an entire career trying to figure out what gold is, and it means different things in different markets. It typically is, historically, when I was growing up, it was looked at as an inflation hedge until it wasn't. And we saw inflation and gold did nothing, and we saw other assets like technology really step into that space. So gold is a really difficult one for me to put my finger on to say these are the main drivers. While we are constructive on gold, and we do think that there's likely some price appreciation, it's not because of the inflationary aspects that we see ahead. It's purely going to be about portfolio disintermediation, just getting away some of the correlation of assets, and gold does serve as a non-correlated asset to other assets that we want to invest in. So from that perspective, it can serve as a risk ballast in a portfolio, but not necessarily an inflation hedge. As far as alternative assets go and other types of things that I think clients are looking at, you just hit on copper a few minutes ago, and actually the copper mining sector is the area where we think that there's a significant underinvestment. We don't recommend that clients or investors go heavily into this sector, but we look across our client balance sheets today, and there's almost no representation. Yet that is a major opportunity.
Why is it only about copper? Because we need to wrap up. Okay. What about cobalt? What about lithium? All of that looks attractive?
Those are opportunities, but for us, the big name is copper. We think that that's likely, just given the explosion in electric vehicles, that's going to be the area of opportunity for investors.